Hey everyone, how's it going? Dr. Ironbat Prime 2.0 back again with this new video, aka Noah. And as this video entitles, I'm here to give you guys my top 10, Batman ripoffs, copycats, because this year marks 85 years of the Dark Knight himself, and being the diehard Batman fan that I am, I really want to talk about some characters that are somewhat of a copycat and or related to the Dark Knight himself. I mean, Batman has been around for 85 years in the world of comics and fiction, but I'm going to list off and tell you guys which ones made my top 10 of being somewhat related to the Dark Knight himself. So keep in mind that this is my list, in my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own, and I'm mostly focusing on characters that came right after Batman, so characters after 1939 are pretty much Batman copycats in the world of comics. So let's see which ones made my top 10. So let's kick this list off, shall we? Number 10 on my list is Midnighter. Not too many people are familiar with this character, but he is somewhat of, a Batman character that is part of DC Comics. This is a guy who is part of the Authority, which is a very underrated DC Comics team, but he uses technology, gadgets, has hand-to-hand combat skills, and is somewhat of a detective. And there's not a lot to talk about, but he does have an origin that's a tad bit more different than Batman's, but he thinks like a detective, knows many forms of hand-to-hand combat, so yeah, and he likes to be dark and brooding, just like Batman. I mean, he may not be 100% a billionaire, but he is somewhat of a Batman who likes to bring justice to criminals. Number 9 on the list is the Green Hornet. Another character that has been around, in 1940 to be exact. So yeah, this is a character that's been around for 84 years at this point. This is another guy that has detective skills here and there, but he also has hand-to-hand combat skills, thinks like a detective, and, there were times where he has crossed over with the Dark Knight himself. Yeah, there was all that, and some of you might even think, what about the Seth Rogen version? Yeah, that's just a movie, put that in the past, focus on the comic and the other version. Yeah, that's what the Green Hornet is really all about. Number 8 on my list is the one that some would argue, Daredevil. This is one that some people may consider a bit of a Batman ripoff, but he is dark and brooding, yes, that is true. I mean, he has a thing for hand-to-hand combat skills, and his origin may be somewhat different than Batman's, but he's got the skills, in a way kind of sort of thinks like a detective. So even though he does have some powers and things that Batman may not have, still some would argue and say he is kind of sort of like Batman. Plus he's a lawyer, he does have, enhanced senses, unlike Batman, so yeah, you could say kind of like Batman, and I can understand why some people would think of Daredevil as like a Batman ripoff, but yeah, that's why he's a bit high up on my list. Next on the list is Nemesis. This is pretty much Mark Millar's take on a version of Batman, but this is a comic book character that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. Now, this is pretty much a version of Batman of what if he was evil, doesn't mind killing, and he was really beating up cops. Yeah, this was pretty much Mark Millar's version of making a Batman ripoff and making a version that doesn't mind using guns and uses, and kind of sort of has a history related to him. So if you're wondering what would Batman look like if he had a bit of a crazy Joker mind and he was a villain, yeah, that's pretty much what he is. I mean, let's face it, there's already a bunch of evil Batmans, and this is one that Mark Millar created. So yeah, plus I'm still reading and learning on some things about Nemesis, so yeah, that's why I want to put this guy somewhere on my list, so the more you know. Next on the list is Tony Stark / Iron Man. He may not be dark and brooding like Batman, and he may not have detective skills, but he has the money, he is incredibly smart, probably one of the top 10 smartest characters in comic books. He uses his, money for good, and he's also being up there being a tech head, of course. So yeah, I mean, that's why he's high up on the list. I mean, there are some there are some similarities, and some people will often say that he is kind of sort of a copycat of Batman. And let's not forget, Batman is the brains of the Justice League, while Iron Man is the brains of the Avengers, and there were times where Batman has worn a suit of armor in the past. I guess Batman took a few notes from Iron Man, so yeah, that's why I've always felt like they were equals when it comes to Marvel and DC characters. Halfway at number 5 is Big Daddy from Kick-Ass. Being a fan of the Kick-Ass series, Big Daddy just had to be, well, in the top 5, of course, and for obvious reasons. And this is a guy who pretty much is bulked up, has hand-to-hand combat skills, and, well, he does have his sidekick, Hit Girl, who's kind of sort of a Robin figure, but this is a guy who's pretty much up there being another Batman copycat who doesn't mind killing people. So yeah, I mean, say what you want that he's pretty much another evil Batman or anti-hero Batman, but yeah, that's why he's made it to the list. Heck, I love how he and Hit Girl have a similar relationship and duo, just like Batman and Robin, and I even love how in the Kick-Ass movie, Big Daddy's costume was, in a way, related to Batman's. Plus, I will admit, his costume is a lot cooler in the movie than it is in the comics. And they did change up some things here and there from like the comics to the movies, but hey, that's just comic books and movies. But yeah, I will admit, I like the movie version of Big Daddy a little bit more than the comics, so I will give the movie credit for that. Next on the list is Blue Beetle. Now I know what the comments are just gonna straight up say after I say Blue Beetle. Some of you might already think, why not Jaime Reyes? But this is pretty much the Ted Kord version who, well, wasn't really adapted to the Scarab like Jaime, but used his gadgets, skills, technology, was a bit of a rich guy, but is also up there being incredibly smart. Now, sure, he's been around like a tad bit, well, sometime after Batman was created, but he was owned by Charlton Comics at first before he made his way to DC. But yeah, that's why Ted Kord made the list, so the more you know. And he may not have the detective skills like Batman, but that's why he had to make the list. Taking the top 3 is Moonlight. I know a lot of people are going to straight up say he's just a Batman ripoff from Marvel, but no. He's been around a tad bit more, well, than Batman. But, well, a couple years, probably a decade after Batman, of course. I mean, he may not be 100% a Batman ripoff, but he does have some similarities here and there of like working at night, being a vigilante crime fighter, and being like a street level character. And, well, their origins are very different, and Moon Knight does have like several other differences here and there, but he's up there being, well, somewhat of a copycat of Batman. So there are some other things that Moon Knight does have, like his multiple personalities, connection with Khonshu, but again, street level character, and he does have some similarities to Batman, so yeah, he may not be 100% a copycat, but they both are dark and brooding. Taking the second spot on the list is Night Owl. They are both nocturnal animals. Rorschach may be more of a detective than Night Owl is, but there are some similarities of like, well, having their layers under their houses. There are obvious reasons why Night Owl made the list. He kind of sort of has detective skills like Batman, but he's an expert at hand-to-hand combat, has no superpowers. I mean, The Watchmen is also owned by DC Comics, but it's pretty much a different universe. And some people would argue and say that he is a Batman ripoff and copycats, but, well, he is a rich guy, but not really a billionaire from, well, Wayne Enterprises like Bruce Wayne / Batman, but he's got the skills and gadgets to, in a way, be like him. But there is a bit of a kicker when it comes to Night Owl being a copycat of Batman. But the main creator, Alan Moore, said that he is not a copycat of Batman. He is actually somewhat of a copycat of Ted Kord Blue Beetle, who I just went over. So yeah, technically he's not a Batman copycat, more of like a copycat on Blue Beetle. That's just what Alan Moore was going for. And some people would like to compare him to Batman, so that's why he's number 2 on my list. Plus, if y'all have been watching my channel for a while, y'all know I'm a pretty big fan of Watchmen. So that's why he's number 2.
And taking top spot number 1 is Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow.
I know Green Arrow is an archer, but there's like a massive handful and X, Y, and Z reasons why he is very similar and a bit of a copycat to Batman.
I mean, it's quite obvious. I mean, they're both billionaires. They both have their own underground caves where they have their gadgets, tech, and they train. They have other sidekicks here and there, and they are both expert at hand-to-hand combat, use gadgets and technology, and they pretty much have the right skills. And, well, I think it's obvious that there's X, Y, and Z reasons on why he is somewhat of a copycat of Batman.
Plus, they're both owned by DC Comics, both became members of the Justice League, and again, I could just go on, and there's like a massive list on why these two are very similar and copycats. Yeah, I mean, that's why he's number 1.
Heck, just read all the comic books and you'll see what I mean, and even check out the show Arrow.
I mean, again, there's a X, Y, and Z reasons. But that concludes my top 10 list. However, I do have a couple of, well, honorable mentions to add in, so here are just a few honorable mentions.
And the honorable mentions on my list go to Space Ghost, who's like an outer space version of Batman, Huntress, the Helen Bertinelli version, Nighthawk, who's, well, pretty much one of Marvel's versions of Batman, Darkwing Duck, who's a comedic version of him, and Darkwing from the Invincible comics, who's kind of sort of like Batman, and of course Black Noir, but only in the show, not the comics.
And that about wraps up my list. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope y'all liked this video. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Well, just to continue on wrapping it up, don't forget to subscribe to my channel by hitting subscribe down there. Hit the bell so you're notified for my next video. Don't forget to comment below. I'm always reading comments. And let me know what you guys thought or what your favorite Batman copycats are in the comments. Again, I'm always reading comments. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up so I know you guys like this video or even love it. And don't forget to also follow me on all my social media stuff. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all my social media is right here. I just might follow you guys right back at you. But till next time, this is Dr. Iron Bat Prime 2.0, aka one of the biggest Batman fans out and about.